Another episode of Rich Talks. This is episode 4. And today we're going to talk about good old Father Time. Yes, undefeated Father Time. Nobody has beat Father Time. No human in existence has beat Father Time. I believe the only way to beat Father Time is to utilize your time wisely. Utilize your time as best as possible. And that's not always the way that they've taught us, in a sense. They always taught us, you always have to be productive 24/7, be productive, be productive, be productive. And sometimes that's not always the thing to do with your time. Time is a beautiful thing, but it can also be a curse. I believe it can be a curse if you haven't done what you needed to do, and it can be a beautiful thing if you're doing what you need to do. Time is an illusion. Time is something that we have put a label on. We've put a label on moments and called it time, if that makes sense. These things that are really moments in life that we won't get back, we've labeled them this word time. And by us labeling it this word time, it takes away the impact that it really has. It takes away the importance that it really has. Time is very important. And when I'm saying that the importance that it has and how it should be cherished is because this is the only, and the reason why I say versus moments versus, excuse me, I'm sorry. The reason why I say that time is a construct of moments and how it should be cherished as such is because when you cherish time as moments, you make the best of it. Again, when you cherish time as moments, you make the best of it because when you look back or that moment that you have, you're going to cherish it and you're going to make the best of it. But a lot of times when you see it something as simple as just time, you don't necessarily make the best of it because you believe you have more of what? Time. It takes away the impact. You've always imagined you say, we spent time together versus we had moments together. We made moments. Moments has a greater impact than just time. And I believe when we just lessify it, if that's not even a word, but when we lessen the impact, we don't take it as greatly. And now it goes on to this topic or this point of time can be the biggest thing that people have to overcome, for lack of a better way to put it. And because we've been put that you only have a limited amount of time, which is cool, but if you believe that everything happens for a reason, if you believe in divine intervention and you believe in the divine and you believe in the universe, then time has no place for you. You understand that there's no such thing as time. You understand that time is not even necessary to take account of. It's just this world society that we've built or that has been built. This society that has been built that tells us time is important. And the society that's been built that cycles around time and it siphons your time. Again, it cycles around time and siphons the time or the precious moments that you could have to enjoy this human experience. Instead, you are running to beat the clock. You see how they can use time as a weapon? When time is something that's not even supposed to be, time is not even something that should be taken that seriously, It shouldn't be taken seriously. The reason why time shouldn't be taken seriously is because everything that's supposed to happen will happen. So if everything that's supposed to happen will happen, then we shouldn't be looking at time. We should be able to enjoy this human experience in the relaxed. We should be able to enjoy this human experience in the most relaxed state possible without having to rush or without having saying we have a limited amount of time. But what has happened is you've been robbed of your time. Somebody knew that people don't really cherish their time. So because people don't really cherish their time, somebody said, I will paint this fantasy for you, and for you to reach this fantasy, we're going to exchange my dollars for your time. And this fantasy or fallacy that you have now, you're chasing, which you never will achieve. And if you do, if you're one of the select few that does achieve it, it means nothing to you in the grand scheme of what I've painted. But in reality, it means nothing to you. But I'm going to exchange my dollars for your time. When I exchange my dollars for your time, now you're going to achieve that pseudo dream that I created for you. But I'm really going to create my dream. You see how they siphon our time? So they tell you these false things that, oh, you have a limited amount of time. You should make the best of it so you can be great. And the greatness that they're telling you is through their means or channels. It's never you have a limited amount of time to be great, to do what you want to do. You know, that message is rarely preached. It's rarely preached that people say, oh, you have a limited amount of time, so ensure that you make the best of it to, enjoy the people around you. They only say that when people pass, or they never say, oh, make the best of time. So, or, make the best of time so you can be able to do what you want to do or enjoy this human experience as much as possible. They never say that. They always say, or they always talk about time in the sense of how it's limited or how it's scarce and how it should be donated or given to someone else. Again, it's never in the sense of how it could be beneficial to us or how it's been used as a weapon. Haven't you noticed that if you live in a major city, how time has made people mad? Yes, time has made people mad. It's made people crazy. And how it's made people crazy is, haven't you seen people when they're late? Rushing time. See how that time, when they have a limited amount of time, that people go crazy? It's like the more time people know that they have, the more relaxed they are. When time becomes more scarce and scarce and scarce, people get crazier and crazier and crazier. This is how you know that time is being used as a weapon. This is how you know something as precious as time should be only seen as just a mere construct. If we use time, we should only be using time as a mere construct just to keep measurement. And it should not be used as a weapon. But you see how this thing called time, when it's scarce, how people react. You see the response, how people react when this resource called time is scarce. Haven't you noticed that way that people respond when time is scarce even takes off more time, if you know what I'm talking about? That stress of knowing that you have less time to make something or do something adds more stress, which again takes off more time. I wonder how long we would live as people if time wasn't important. If it didn't matter, one second. I wonder how important time would be if, like I said, I wonder how long we would live if we didn't use time, if we didn't need time, if we just lived. If we didn't have to be at this place to this place to this place, we didn't, keep track of it. We were just living by the sun. When the sun comes up, the sun comes down. And you just did, just did you. What happens then? I wonder what we live longer. Just for the sheer fact of not having to race against this time, When I'm saying we don't keep track of time, you go with the flow. Almost when people ask you how long have you been here, you say, you don't keep track of age. And I'm not saying for degenerate reasons. I'm just saying you don't keep track of age because this allows you to just flow. The moments you feel that you want to have a deeper meaning or live a deeper meaningful life, you do that. And the moments when you still feel kid-like or childlike, you do that. It's flowing through life with grace instead of being pushed through life due to how much time you've lived. Because that's what age is. Age is just how much time you spent on this earth. Haven't you noticed that, like, some people are not ready to live a life of an adult just because they're 18? Just because you spent 18 years here, that much time here, doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready for those responsibilities or ready for that life or you've matured or this is something that you're ready to embark on. So how can everybody, when that clock strikes the 18th year, how could everybody have spent enough time in that stage beforehand to be prepared to go to this next stage? You see how this time has us, or this concept of time has us all messed up? It could have somebody prematurely embarking on something that they may need another 5, 10, 15 years to embark on. I believe, what if people were allowed to take their time and we didn't have this construct of after 18 years, you must now serve at a college institution to start your, to start your career, your professional career. That's, I was going to say madness. But the thing behind that is, well, everybody's not ready. That's why you have people. That's why you have people who go in undecided. That's why you have people who, for the first year and a half, 2 years, mess up, become alcoholics or drug addicts or sex addicts or, whatever the case may be, whatever their vice is. That's why you see a lot of people go astray. Is because that wasn't their time. They weren't prepared for that. They haven't spent enough time in the previous stage. They haven't spent enough time knowing who they are. They haven't spent enough time. So when you group everybody together on a certain timeline, you're going to get these things. We're all individuals. If we all grow at different heights, have different shades of hair, different eye colors, different skin colors, different brains, different speech, our voices are different. Shoe size different, clothes different. If everything is different, then why is the way that we move through time the same? You see? The thing that they told us that you're just a number, now that I say that, does it really click to you? If everything about us is different, then why is the same timeline the same for everybody? At 18, you should go to college. And then you should be graduating by 21, 22. Then by 26, you should be married with a kid and starting on a mortgage. You see? You see how they get you with time? Then by 35, you should have 2, 3 kids. By 50, you should have enough in savings. Still paying your mortgage. Having money in the stock market. Then by 60, your kids should be in college doing the same cycle that you did. So you see how they siphon who you are. You see how they siphon all these things. Putting your life on a timeline instead of you living your own timeline that was divinely given to you. That's why you see people have these errors. These life and errors. These, what is it called? midlife crisis. People have a midlife crisis because the things that they wanted to do when they were 18, 19, in their 20s, 30s, they didn't get an opportunity to do. They didn't get an opportunity to do these things because, why? They were operating on someone else's timeline. So let's say Matt was operating on someone else's timeline. He went to school when he was supposed to. At 18, he went to college like they say you're supposed to. He graduated, got married, got kids. But Matt, deep down inside, like rock and roll. So what if Matt never really got to experience that rock and roll life? He never got that motorcycle deep down inside he wanted to. He didn't want to go to college right away. He wanted to work on a band and work in a band. He wanted to be a drummer and drive motorcycles, and drink alcohol, get drunk, get drunk and just live like a rock star. What if Matt never got to do that? I'm not here for, a disclaimer, I'm not here for morality or when I'm speaking in this section. I'm speaking about real life. So people are going to say, oh, you're talking promoting getting drunk. I'm just speaking reality of life. Because these are the things that people want to do when they're younger. Really experience life. Really experience certain things. And I'm not saying he's doing this or people do this when they're younger because of stress or trauma. No, just to live in life. Get drunk is a part of life. But I digress. What if Matt never got to do these things that he so craved when he was younger? What happens is he hits a midlife crisis. He sees how much time he spent and how much time he has going forward. And he sees that the things that he wanted to do when he was younger, their time is gone. And he sees how much time he has ahead of him and the things that he has to do that's ahead of him and things that he wants, that he missed out on, it all comes and hits him like a ton of bricks. Now you have your midlife crisis. So now, that's when you have people who go buy the motorcycle at 50, the sports car at 60. Those are the ones who, divorce their wives and go get the hot wife, the quote-unquote hot wife. They leave their family, or the ones who they say, you threw it all away. The ones who, cheat on their wife and they say you threw it all away for a night of fun, and that's because he's never experienced fun. So of course you'll throw everything away if you've never experienced fun. Can you really blame him? He's never experienced what he thinks is fun. So because he's been withheld from that, he risks, the time going forward that he could have for this moment of pleasure because he never had his quote-unquote moments of pleasure. Can you blame Matt? Can you blame people? Like I said, when you've been robbed of your time and it comes back to haunt you, you try to exercise your God-given right to enjoy your time as much as possible as you may see fit. And I said, time is a big thing. Have it my way, we wouldn't really keep up with time. It'll be there to see, if you need it. Like a measurement. But how many times do you pick up a ruler? You see? How many times do you pick up a ruler to measure something? Unless you're like a carpenter or something like that, or you're a seamstress where you need a tape measure. How often do you pick up these instruments? And I believe it should be the same thing with the clock. Same thing with time. It should be, how often do you look at your watch? How often do you check the time to see where you should be versus you just moving and going through life? The only time you measure something is when you absolutely need it. The only time you pull out a ruler or a tape measure for something is when you absolutely need it. So I believe the only time that we should look at the watch or the clock is when we absolutely need it. Other than that, we should live through life, enjoy this life. And don't let time be the warden. Don't let time be the warden of your life. You know? How many times have people, like I said, did the whole career thing and all that, and they've been on their deathbed and said, oh, I just wish I got to spend more time with my people. Or I wish that I would have did what I wanted to do. You know, people's biggest regrets is how they spent their time. Let me say that. Let me reverse that. People's biggest regrets is how their time was already predeterminedly spent for them. Because when you're in this society, your life is already, when you're in this society, your life is already almost predetermined for you. It's not predetermined from the divine. No, it's predetermined by the powers that be. And the powers that be have predetermined your time. They've already allotted or made way for where you're going to go, because that's what they need for their survival. See? So in order for them to keep their structure up, they need you to, you see? In order for them to keep their structure up, they need you to abide by their rules and guidelines that they set for a time. You know, they need you to have kids at a certain time, go to school at a certain time, get married at a certain time, so you can have college debt at a certain time. You can have a mortgage at a certain time. Now that you are married and kids, now you can't quit your job because you have responsibilities. So now you dedicated at least 20, 25 years. If you have one kid, let's say, you dedicated at least 22 years. If that kid goes to college, it's another 4 years that you have to be responsible for this kid. So 18, 4, that's 22. So you've dedicated at least 22 years of servitude. It's almost like being in the army. You know, how long did you serve? Oh, I served 22 years. Or it's almost like a prison sentence. Oh, I got 22 years. Well, I was just saying that to say how time is so important. You see how they steal it from you. You see how it's made society crazy. Like I said, imagine just living, go a day without checking time. Go a day without saying I need to be here at this certain time, here at this certain time, here at a certain time. You're not going to know how to move. Have you just had like a free day where you haven't had anything to do and you can do whatever you wanted to? It's almost scary because you don't know what to do. And you're so used to rushing and rushing and rushing and rushing and rushing that now that you don't have to rush, it's hard for you to just sit and enjoy the present. You see, we've been conditioned to rush so much, and we've been conditioned to check the time, and we've been conditioned so much to go from here to here to here to here that we can't even elevate high enough in frequency to attract more. You know, because you're stuck in this frequency of always rushing. You're stuck in this frequency of lack of time. You're stuck in this frequency of not having enough time. So when you're stuck in this frequency, you can't raise it anymore because you're always rushing. And then when you're not rushing, you've mentally been trapped into that mindset. So it's even harder for you to just sit back and enjoy and relax when you can do that. It's almost like a person going through withdrawals when they don't get their fix anymore. And you know how they start tweaking or having withdrawals, you know? It's the same thing. You start, when your time is not determined for you and now it's up to you, you start having a response like, you know, it's hard for you to just sit back and really enjoy it. That's a problem. It should never be a problem for us to be able to take our time and to enjoy this life. to be able to take your time and to really analyze things and soak up things and really enjoy the moments. You see, you see how I used moments versus just the time? If you're looking at time, you're going to always be rushing. There's not going to be enough of it. If you're looking at time, you're not going to utilize it in the best way possible for you to enjoy this human experience as much as possible. But when you look at it as moments, then what happens is you'll just chill. You just chill out until it's time to make another moment, until those energies align. You know, you rely on divine timing. You rely on when the moment is right for you to start moving with grace through life. Life gets much easier that way. Now imagine somebody just moved through life with grace, and that 22, this person wants to go to college now because they've done enough beforehand, so now they're ready to move and glide through life the way they feel, the way they see fit. So 22 and they graduate by 26 and it wasn't an issue. Got straight A's because they were able to focus because they've done all the things that they wanted to do. Instead of it being on the back of their mind now, trying to fight with what society has told them to do. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be things that it could just be wanting to play video games for another 4 years, you know? Or a female may want to just work on social media content for a couple years and really see how that takes her and makes her feel before she embarks on this adult journey that they say you have to embark on. You see why Peter Pan construct was created? Peter Pan is the biggest, and this is why I've always liked Peter Pan. Growing up, I was always a big fan of Peter Pan because Peter Pan never wanted to grow up. Peter Pan knew the importance of time. Peter Pan knew the importance of enjoying his time. That's why he never wanted to grow up. He wanted to be a kid. He enjoyed the time. That's why adults were their biggest enemy, because adults didn't have a soul. So when you look at time as moments, when you look at time as something enjoyable, when you look at time as something you are to enjoy, you're kinder, you're nicer. You're not in a rush. Like, have you seen the movie Hook? The Peter Pan rendition with Robin Williams? That's one of my favorite movies. You see how when Robin Williams left and he became, this lawyer guy, this hotshot guy, and he became an adult. And you see how he was always rushing. He didn't have time to go to his son's baseball game. He became the enemy. He was based on a timeline, the loop of time. And you see how his wife started being mad at him. His mom started being mad at him. You see, his because I think that was his mother-in-law. His mother-in-law was like doing too much. He lost who he was. Now, in the same movie, when he went back to Never Never Land and time stood still, you see how happy he was? He over here flying, eating all the imaginary food, chilling, able to defeat Hook, you see? Because of that time. That time. Imagine remember when you was a kid and time didn't matter. You didn't have to worry about anything. You just enjoyed the time. Imagine, that's how life was so stressful. Life was so stressless. Life became stressful the moment you recognized time. The moment somebody told you, the moment you hopped off your timeline and you hopped on someone else's timeline, that's when life became stressful. Life became stressful when they told you, you're 18, it's time for you to, you're 14, it's time for you to, you're 22, it's time for you to, you're 40, it's time for you to When people make these predetermined things for people's lives, that's when life becomes stressful. Why? Because we're not all put on that same timeline. It's literally a response. That stress is literally a response. It's a response responding to someone telling you what you have to do at a certain time. Now, how do you overcome this? We can't get away with time in the society that we live in. We can't get away from it. We just can't. So, the times that you have to do what you have to do in order to survive in this world that we live in, by all means, please. But the moment that you can break out of it, or if you can't break out of it, the moment that you have in order to just relax and enjoy without checking on time, do it as much as possible. Because that may ultimately lead you to doing something or a life to where time is not important. Hope this helps somebody today. This is our favorite cousin. Y'all be safe. Love and blessings.